Hey everyone, Joe from Gadgetry Tech. This is going to be a short video because I've covered this headset in depth in the past, greatly in depth. It's the H6PRO, and you can get it in open back or closed back. I'll have a link up top and a link in the description below to help you watch that or find that video. I'm going to be leveraging the description a lot on this video because things could change after I release this review, because right now this bundle is only available in a black variant with the open or closed back. Now, the bundle, the reason for this review is the H6PRO retails for $180 by itself, regardless of the color or if it's open or closed back. The GSX300 DAC that is included in this bundle retails for $80 by itself. That is sold in either white or black. This bundle, available only in black, is $200. So for extra $20 MSRP on top of the H6PRO price, you're now getting an $80 amp DAC. That works on PC, it works on PlayStation, both 4 and 5, and it works on the Nintendo Switch if you're docked in USB mode. All right, so getting into sound quality, let's just talk about some basics. So there are open back and closed back versions of the H6PRO. There's a difference in the pad as well, but the biggest difference that you'll notice is the sound quality. Now, when you look at them side by side, and it is a beautiful finish. I actually like the black because it has kind of a bluish hue to it, and it's really kind of classy the way they did it. But the open back version has that black mesh on each side of the driver. That is basically where it's vented or open to the outside world, whereas the closed back is solid. So that is the easiest way to know if you got an open back or a closed back. If you're just going by photos, just look at the picture. Now, when you wear these, the open back is very easy to hear your surroundings. Because it's vented, you can hear everything around you more. The way this impacts sound quality is it creates a slightly more open sound stage. So what that means is if there's stuff off in the distance, how far can you pinpoint the distance of objects? How much directional awareness do you have? And open backs typically excel when it comes to sound stage. It's not to say every open back is going to have a better sound stage or imaging presentation versus every closed back, but the same design, if it's tuned correctly, the open back should perform a little bit better. Now, most people would hear that and just assume that the closed back is the only one they want to consider and it's the right one for them. And that's a great thing to start with. It's still going to sound great. I feel like everyone who buys one of these would like either version. Now, when you get into the closed back, it does have a little bit more intimate sound stage. Things kind of seem closer to the dead center of your head. The presentation is just a little bit more compact. However, the advantage of the closed back is the bass extension and overall volume. This has a higher sensitivity rating of 117 decibels versus 111. What that means is at the same volume, these will be noticeably louder. The bass on this is a bit higher and the treble is a little bit more sharp. Basically with a closed back, because no sound is leaking out of the back, it's almost like I'm putting my hand around my mouth and it changes the sound quality a little bit. The other advantage of a closed back is you get better noise isolation. So if you don't want to hear your surroundings as much, the closed back is the better version for you there as well. So there's pros and cons of both. The H6PRO open back has a flatter frequency response. It's a little bit more accurate sonically, and you have a nice wide sound presentation. However, you don't get the same volume handling and you don't get the same bass extension. So if you like bass or if you like to turn it up, the H6PRO closed back is going to be a better version for that. Now, the other interesting thing they did is they actually have totally different pads for both, even though it's the same headphone model, and the headphone pad is the same. You know, it's a really nice headphone pad. You have this leatherette. Padding is very robust. Build quality is phenomenal on both. I mean, it's a metal headband. You get one single input for your analog connection, so build quality, again, excellent. The closed back has a gel-infused memory foam, which is very soft and supple. So I'm going to try to get this into focus and show you. You can see that it's a little bit slower to react and come up. That's just the way memory foam works. And it's also a hybrid of material. You have a leatherette on the outside for cleaning and durability, and then the part that contacts your ear is this nice suede-like material. This feels incredibly premium. I love these ear pads. If you wear glasses and you don't want to swap pads, which I'll get into in a moment, but if you wear glasses, the closed back version is a better headset for people who wear glasses because the pads are more forgiving and it will be more comfortable for long gaming sessions. Now, the open back version takes a different approach. It actually ditches the memory foam for a traditional foam. It still has some cooling effect, and they use this high performance like sport fabric, and you can see it's a bit more springy when I let it go. This has a firmer feel on your head. It doesn't feel as plush or soft as the closed back version, but these are designed to give you maximum airiness because the pad material actually affects the sound. These run extremely cool. So if you're concerned with hot ears or you're in a hot environment, the open back should feel more comfortable over long periods of gaming. Now, I mentioned I'm going to be using the description box, and here is another example why. So I met this company at a headphone show. Deconi makes really nice ear pads, especially for audiophile headphones, like $3,000 headphones that I have, the hi-fi men's. They make pads that you can swap that impact the sound quality and comfort, but they also make pads for Sennheiser EPOS headphones, which the GSP600 series pads fits the H6PRO. So I do want to say, if you like the H6PRO open back, but because you like the sound quality and the openness and airiness, but you don't like the pads are very easy to swap, whether it's through the Deconi or through buying the actual closed back pad through the EPOS store. They're about $25 to $30 for all these pad options. I think the open back version is only $20, so it's a little cheaper. But it's a little plastic ring. It's super easy to switch out. They just clip in and out, so there's no weird bending or stretching the rubber band around the ear pad. But these pads are phenomenal because you have very different ways you can go. You have this protein-based leather, which if you want a really nice seal and you want the memory foam and the cooling effect and the comfort, these pads are excellent for that, and these will still help with bass extension because of that leatherette material. If you like the open airiness, soft, cool feel of the sport fabric, but you want the open back and you want to wear glasses without adding heat and all those other issues, and I'm going to make sure I read this right, it's the Jersey line. It's spelt this way. The Jersey uses a sport fabric, again, but now you get memory foam. So it's extremely soft. So there are options out there. I'm not going to make this whole plug for Deconi. They were kind enough to send these out for several headphones I have so I can experiment with it. It does change your sound quality slightly, but again, I'm not trying to go down that whole technical side. You can always ask me questions in the comments below. So anyway, the biggest difference with open back and closed back, noise isolation. It does change the sound quality, whether you want the higher volume and bass extension versus the open airiness, more flat sound profile, and it affects the pads that you get. Everything else on the headphone is going to feel the same, including the clamp force, headband comfort, build quality, etc. All right, now for what you get in the box, it's basically the same thing of just buying both of these products separately. The GSX and the H6PRO are in one bigger box. That's what this bundle is, in addition to saving the $60 MSRP. Now, because of that, just real quick, I want to touch on the cables. So you get a TRRS cable included. This is basically what you use to plug into your console controller, or a phone with a headphone jack. Just use that cable. If you're plugging into a controller, by the way, exclusively, then obviously you won't need the DAC. If you mix and do the controller plus occasional PC, or you want this DAC for PlayStation, that's when the DAC is beneficial. Now, to me, this is actually a really special cable. You also get a much longer PC cable, and the difference is it breaks out your microphone and headphone on two different plugs. The reason why I love this huge selling point, is the ground is not shared between the mic and the headphone. What is that, you may ask? So when you use a combo port, a TRRS cable, the ground is shared between the mic and the headphones, which means when you crank your headphones, people can technically hear a little bit of the game in the background. Some people may hear it, and it depends how loud you go. It also depends on the controller's capability of isolating the two. However, that's just the way these cables work. It's nothing to do with this headset. Almost every wired headset will do that. What's cool about this, and the reason why the GSX300 has a breakout cable where it splits the two, is because the ground is no longer shared and the sound output is completely isolated from the microphone signal, which means when you crank it, no one will ever hear your game. So to me, that's a huge selling point alone on the PC side, is just getting the ground isolation performance. So those are the cables you get in the box. Now the GSX300 comes with a single micro USB. I'm not a fan of micro USB, but the GSX300 has been around for a while. And when it came out several years ago, that was more common, especially in that sub $100 price range. Cable's long enough to reach over your desk and down into your desktop, but it's not crazy long, and it's also not so short that it's useless and you're stuck right next to it. So when it comes to audio performance of the GSX300, this is the kicker for me. It sounds good, and the microphone audio actually sounds excellent as well. We will do a quick mic test. The GSX300's power output is not terribly more strong. It's not much more powerful than a high-end gaming desktop motherboard. The power output is just slightly better. Now, as of March 7th, 2022, there was a firmware update for the GSX300 to make it louder. I measured it. The increase in decibels was minor. It was only a few percent. And when I say a few percent, so the decibel barely went up, but the overall output gain only went up a few percent. It helps. Every little bit helps. But anyway, so if you base off old reviews, it actually did get a little bit louder. So the GSX300, it sounds great. You get some cool features with the gaming suite, but it's not super powerful. I say that because if you recall what I said earlier, the open back version isn't as sensitive or as loud. You can hit full volume with the GSX300 on the open back and it won't be deafening loud. It gets really loud and I can listen to it for most things at that volume without either making my ears bleed, but I don't always have to max it out. I can still turn it down, and I typically play at about 80%, maybe 70% on the open back. Now, because of the higher sensitivity, the closed back version gets noticeably louder. So if you're looking for maximum volume, again, just go for the closed back. It's going to get more out of the GSX300. Now, on the volume note, that reminded me of one quick thing. There is a volume dial on the H6PRO. Just because it's analog, it does still have a volume dial. It's this side. You rotate it. Now, when you go all the way down, it's actually not muted. It's just at a low volume because a lot of people on the older versions were not realizing this was turned off and they assumed the headset was defective. And I guess there were a lot of returns from it for some reason. So the new one is basically like 5 or 10% volume and then all the way to max. The other cool thing I want to show you is the microphone is detachable. So if you want to use these as headphones, you can do that. And you may think that looks funny, but it does come with replacement caps that are also magnetic. So you can make these look like legitimate headphones and use them. I like that because of this price range, you could get by with this as your only headphone pair, whether you're using it on the go plugged into your phone or obviously home for gaming or music listening, movie watching, etc. All right, now I'm talking to you on the H6PRO using the GSX300 DAC for the microphone preamp side. And this is what it sounds like. The sound quality of the H6PRO microphone has always been great. There is a little trick that the GSX300 adds, and it actually has vocal enhancers. You can actually custom EQ your voice on this lightweight software. And I will say this real quick. So when this software first came out a year or two ago, when I bought my GSX300 in white, it was a little bit more buggy and unstable. Now, even on Windows 11 with these latest updates, the software works perfectly fine. And I say that because if you press in on this little mode button, the light turns red. That's enabling or disabling my Dolby 7, or not my Dolby, but my 7.1 virtual surround processing that's built into the GSX300. So that all works now. Now the volume knob, which feels really nice, is basically just a volume knob that controls your Windows volume. It's not its own dedicated. So if you have a keyboard that has a volume knob and you like using that because it's convenient, you're not going to lose out on your peak volume and adjustments. It's literally all tied together and it'll make it super easy to adjust. So this is what this sounds like. Now there's one trick. I talked about the custom EQ. I'm going to enable warm. Warm? This is what it sounds like. It enhances the low frequencies quite a bit. It actually pulls some of the mid frequencies down and it makes the voice sound more like a podcast voice, simulating a larger microphone capsule. So if you want a little bit more depth, a little bit more warmth to your voice, you can do that. Now I pull this mic in a little bit too much. I can hear that I'm popping. So I just adjusted it. Obviously the mic is adjustable. And because I can hear myself, because they fixed the side tone with the software updates, you can adjust how much you hear yourself in the headset. If you're concerned with that, it works perfectly fine now. You can enable it or max it out, and the volume of the side tone is excellent. I think the warm sound sounds incredible. Now, obviously there are other modes you can do that. On the EQ side, the esports treble boost is a bit too much for me, but there's also movie and music mode. On movie and music mode, they're very similar. Movie basically just adjusts the mids slightly, and it enables virtual surround processing. I like the music mode. I'm usually not a huge fan of virtual sound, but it's always one of those things where you just kind of play with it
and see what sounds best to you, and it might change based off what you're listening to or watching or playing. And then lastly, there is a button right next to the volume. When I showed you earlier, I was enabling and disabling the virtual surround mode. You can change that button to cycle through EQ presets as well on the software, and there's also a button where you can enable it. So this software launches at startup and you always have your icon. So they've made some fixes to it from when this first came out, and to me, this is the best state it's ever been because I didn't have any issues with mine this entire time.
All right, so that wraps up the review in this info session on what the bundle is, and hopefully this helps you decide, one, if you want open or close back, if you're okay with being stuck with only black because you want to save the money on the bundle, and if it's worth it to you to get the DAC. Overall, I think the tonality of the DAC is actually pretty good. It's not class leading, but again, it's a very affordable, very compact DAC, and it's a noticeable improvement over things that you would get built into a laptop, for example. It's also small and light because it's plastic. So I think if you're using this on a laptop especially, there's even more value to this DAC because it is a noticeable improvement there in addition to all the other benefits with the sound quality and customization. So I like this bundle. Honestly, if you need any kind of a DAC specifically for the H6 Pro, the GSX300 is totally fine, especially in the closed back version. So for $20, to me, it's a no-brainer. The open back version, if you like listening to things at extreme volumes or you're hard of hearing, I'd suggest just getting the closed back version with this combo, or the open back and get a different DAC like their GSX300 or 1200 series, which are more expensive DACs, but they have more power. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, shoot me a comment. I'll do my best to answer them. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm moving in a few weeks. My new studio is almost done. I cannot wait to start filming in there, so I'm going to do my best to keep up with everything. We're going to release as much content as I can in the next few weeks to catch up, and then I'll take a little break, and I cannot wait to show you what we have in store. So thank you again as always. I'll see you soon.